some new people that have not attended a weekly SMB Nation Office 365 Nation webinar again. So let me properly introduce myself again. My name is Harry Brelsford. It's the quarterly briefing, the Independent Office 365 Update and Analysis webinar is part of our weekly webinar series here at SMB Nation and Office 365 Nation. Let's jump right into it. We got a busy day. So first of all, some of you aren't aware of SMB Nation and O365 Nation. We're a 15-year-old company in the Seattle area, recently celebrated our birthday. We participate in the industry in a wide variety of ways. CompTIA, Microsoft MVP program back in the SBS days, and some of the channel organizations. You can also find us in magazines. So, for example, it's an honor and a privilege to be one of the 40 SMB influencers in the current edition of Channel Pro magazine. So be sure to go over to channelprosmb.com, subscribe to their magazine. In the May issue, you'll see a mention of myself and SMB Nation along with 39 other great people. With that said, a little bit of housekeeping. Use the chat feature to ask your questions today. And I want to do a little bit of work up front before the Memorial Day holiday here in the U.S. So we have the Office 365 Nation Tour continues, 7 cities down. We've added a couple more. We just finished Washington, D.C. last week, so we've added Charlotte and Boston for July. And folks, this is an ongoing motion, probably has a run rate of 2 cities per month. So stay tuned for that. Very popular one-day format. It's complimentary. So again, that's at o365tour.smbnation.com. Our online event, primarily for the worldwide audience, is a Get Connected event done in conjunction with Aaron Booker, formerly best known for VARVID. That's August 4th and 5th online with time zone friendly times for the world. GetConnected.o365nation.com. Later this week, I believe it'll be tomorrow, we will launch the link for our Windows 10 tour. This is 4 cities in June. So we have New York, LA, Austin, Texas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Redmond. And then we had the fall conference October 1 through 3 in Redmond with an emphasis on 365, Azure, and Win 10. So I promised you a special guest, and it's always a pleasure to have Anurag from TechOwl on board. Anurag, are you out there, sir? And where are you today?
I am in San Jose, California, Harry.
Very cool. Very cool. Again, Anurag, we've worked together. I mean, has it been a decade? It's been quite some time. We've worked together.
Yes.
And you've really grown your research practice into a well-respected SMB research house. It looks like, I swear, it feels like weekly, you're now kicking out some analysis and some report. You're our special guest. And so, Anurag, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself and your firm, and then we'll jump right into the conversations that make sense about the 20 truths about cloud that every SMB should know.
Thank you, Harry, for having me. Yeah, we have been growing tremendously since the last 7 or 8 years when I started this organization. We conduct global research. We do maybe about 40 to 50,000 SMB surveys each year. We also conduct, channel partner surveys. These channel partners that serve the SMB community, we do maybe about 10 to 15,000 channel partner surveys each year, and across different geographies, not only within the U.S., but also UK, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, and many of the Asia-Pac countries as well. So we have a pretty rich information base from where we draw out our intelligence. And many of our clients have been asking us that, you have got such a rich information base, and you are able to connect the dots between, say, cloud, mobility, collaboration, analytics, social media, virtualization, converged infrastructure, etc., that we would like to start getting some kind of a weekly update from you. So you have noticed, which is excellent, that yes, every Monday morning we actually come out with one analytical piece. Either it concerns the channels or it concerns the SMBs, and it's across different topics. The topics that I already talked about includes cloud, mobility, virtualization, big data, analytics, social media, business issues, et cetera, et cetera.
Very cool. Well, so Anurag, what I thought we would do is, out of respect for your time, the audience's time, and their ability to kind of read the screen, and quite frankly, guys, click over to Tech Isle and become I'll call it become a fan, get on their list, and get in the loop with Anurag at Tech Isle. So excuse me, we're not going to read all 20 truths. They're on the screen as we go page by page. I thought I'd pick one per page and maybe interview you or chit chat with you. And I want to go with number 4. And the reason I want to go with number 4 on this screen is the last time I saw you in person was, I believe it was early February. We were both invited as analysts to the IBM Partner Conference down in Las Vegas, had a couple days together. I have a photo with you. And, you know, as you'll recall, and that was a very interesting conference for me because guys there's a couple of brands you don't want to count out. And I would offer the Schwinn Bicycle Company, IBM. IBM's alive and kicking, and boy, howdy, they were sure talking transformation in terms of mobility and the Internet of Things. But more importantly, and I always get her name wrong, but I'm going to say Jenna Romney, the woman CEO, and I know that's not quite right. But she talked about business transformation and how disruptive this era is. So I wanted to see if maybe you could offer a couple of comments about number 4, business transformation and disruption, sir.
Yeah, sure. So I think, let's preface this discussion by the fact that cloud has firmly arrived within the SMB segment. There have been many different comments in the past. There was one firm which dubbed 2010 as the year the cloud rolled in. There was another firm, I think it was Tech Republic, which said in 2011 that the year the cloud went mainstream, and ZDNet wondered in 2012 whether it will be the year of the cloud. And last year, or I think 2013, Wired claimed that 2013 was the year cloud just was, and Computer Weekly stated that 2014 will be the year of the cloud. Honest. I mean, these are actual quotes from those publications. But in all honesty, in 2015, we can really put an end to this kind of discourse. I mean, cloud is no longer a trend that is discrete from mainstream IT. And we have been studying SMBs for an extremely long time, and we are seeing that the cloud computing is now viewed as an IT priority by 96% of the US SMBs alone. So, and that is pretty huge. So already about 89% of the SMBs are already on cloud, or even higher. When we last did our study, it was in February or March of this year, which is 2015. Since then, many more would have jumped onto this bandwagon. So this shift in cloud positioning brings with it a shift in the kinds of insights which are required to connect between the SMBs and the suppliers or the channel partners and all that. So what we are saying with the point number 4 is that cloud is really not an extension of business as usual. And cloud, for the longest period of time, cloud was being viewed as a cost-cutting measure for the IT. It is no longer like that. In fact, nearly 80% of the SMBs kind of say that cloud is a means of growing their business. So the entire dialogue has changed. And why is that? Because it is completely transforming their capabilities in terms of how cloud can really propel their business forward, in terms of they are able to introduce new capabilities, which was very difficult for them in the past. I mean, see around you how many small businesses have really started to use cloud in very, very innovative ways. It makes them more competitive. It helps improve their business processes. So it is essentially in the midst of tremendously transforming their capabilities. And let me tell you also that it is much more of a transformative capability in an SMB than in an enterprise. And that's because when you adopt technologies like cloud, which is still considered to be an emerging technology, it's not only about technology, but it's about changing the business process. And SMBs are very quick to change those business processes as long as there is some guidance that is available. For an enterprise where business processes have been rooted into IT and other business issues for 20, 30 years, it becomes extremely difficult for them to adopt cloud at the level the SMBs can adopt.
Yeah, and I kind of resemble that remark. As a small business, our long-term office lease expired April 1st, and due in part to Office 365 and sort of the decentralization of IT, for lack of a better word. We're testing, but we have everybody working mobile now, and it's not to dwell on it, it's saving money, but more importantly, it's probably making us more productive. Let's drop over to the next slide, and let's talk about the cloud changes relationships, extending peer groups, and creating constant pervasive links across the organization. Anurag, my short answer to number 8. The changing relationships is that we're seeing the collaboration fostered by OneDrive for Business and SharePoint. We're pretty active with SharePoint, some of the tools we use, and hope to be active with Skype for Business. And then I'll also add, I'm going to give a shout out later to Harmony, that is a tool for SharePoint inside Outlook that is really allowing us to collaborate better. So number 8, what are you seeing in terms of organizations working better together?
It's an absolute need right now, because when people or organizations talk about mobility, or they talk about cloud, or they talk about collaboration, you cannot talk about each one of them as a separate function. Mobility is enabled because of cloud, and collaboration is used because of cloud and mobility, both. So all of these three are interlinked, and some of our analysts basically call that mobility cloud, some a tongue twister type of a terminology. But what is happening is, because of availability of cloud solutions, collaboration has extended much beyond an audio conferencing or even a video conferencing. There are increasingly small and mid-market businesses are adopting video-enabled collaboration solutions, or collaboration solutions where they can create secure virtual workspaces, where they can share project parameters or conversation threads or discussion material. They work on documents together. This is allowing these SMBs to not only work across different geographies or within different regions, but also extend that partnership with their vendors, with their partners, and even to a very large extent with their customers, which is why we are seeing tremendous amount of proliferation of document management companies or content management companies, and then collaboration is being inbuilt within cloud solutions as well. So it is one of the means of extending that link between not only the employees or contractors within the organization, but also external to the organization, which in a way improves productivity, which improves customer satisfaction, which improves sales marketing, allows them to introduce products and solutions faster into the market because it fosters innovation.
Then there we go. Hey, folks, so a little bit of an update for you. So we have a couple more points we'll cover from our special guest, Anurag at TechOwl. Then we're going to jump into the hardcore Office 365 conversations. Got some great updates for you. Want to give a shout out to two sponsors who are underwriting today's webinar. This is an academic webinar, but we appreciate the support of English Micro and Skykick. So let's move on. A couple more slides with TechOwl. So we have items 10 through 14 presented. And let's take, let's take number 12. Cloud is a framework, not a technology, because this is going to play into my slide a little bit later about Office 365 being a platform at the end of the day. So cloud is a framework, not a technology. It evolves as business needs, opportunities, customers, and competitors evolve. So it sounds like a little bit of a platform statement and an agility statement. Sir, what did you mean in the study here?
Yeah. So, we didn't want to use the platform terminology because platform, in our view, is a much maligned terminology. I mean, we are based, the headquarters is based out of Silicon Valley, and we know that if you use the word platform, it becomes almost a guarantee to get VC funding. So what we wanted to really highlight the fact is that cloud is not one single technology. It's not just SaaS or software as a service. It's not just platform as a service. So these are terminologies which are given by analysts or media to really put some of these things into buckets which could be measured. But cloud is a framework. So there would be SMBs which would start with, say, very simple solution like an Office 365 or OneDrive because they just want to share their documents. But that is basically a start. And as they acquire more customers or they get more employees or some of their business capabilities change or their objectives change, this starts to transform. And this could transform into enabling much better productivity solutions. So, for example, we are on the subject of Office 365. It could start to extend into CRM. It could extend into marketing automation. It could extend into analytics because analytics and CRM and ERP together would start to give a 360 view of the organization. So it should be treated as the framework that yes, we are now committed to this particular framework, and we need to make rapid changes. Because if you start to go through all these 1 to 20 truths that we are talking about, they are in some way or the other interlinked. Because there are SMBs that would say that I'm approaching cloud very cautiously. They adopt one area, then they wait. That's a big mistake because you cannot wait forever. As your needs change, as your business issues change, as priorities change, cloud very directly links to the business issues and the opportunities which are there. For example, there was this group of SMBs that we talked last week itself. Very simple problem that they had. They used to generate invoice, create a PDF, then email those invoices. They had absolutely no idea when the invoice was getting paid, or they had their contracts. They used to write them in Word or Excel document, email. Then all of a sudden, this group basically decided we need to go and to do it in an automated fashion. And it was like something really hit them, and they are so happy that they were all smiling and laughing because they were using technologies like QuickBooks Online or DocuSign and Adobe EchoSign and many of the other technologies. Very, very simple things, but it changed the way they started to do the business. So in essence, now they're saying, what next for us?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And, another overused phrase, but it remains one of my favorites. I think it was out of the Covey 7 Habits books where I first heard it, was the paradigm shift, but it's just really changing. We'll move on.
Yep.
In the number 17, in the cloud world, fail fast is a critical capability. So I'll offer my version of the truth. I have certainly committed SMB Nation as an entity to staying innovative. And Anurag, I'll tell you, the old saying that 1 out of 10 small businesses makes it in the long run, or 9 out of 10 things fail. I don't mean to go to the dark side, but we've done a lot of innovation. Some things have worked very well. Some things never got traction. And I really have kind of shifted my thinking to a fail fast mentality, kind of from an entrepreneurial point of view. And of course, what we're doing now is some innovation work in the cloud area. And if there's no there, then I'm not here. And without kind of divulging my business plans, we've been trying a couple things on the side, and a couple things are getting legs, and a couple things aren't. But the cloud gives me, what am I trying to say? Boy, it sure gives me a lot faster feedback. Does that make sense?
It does, and I actually, I was, when I visited your office, I was pleasantly surprised and by the extent of cloud solutions that you were using, and that was maybe a few years ago. When I had come to your Bainbridge office, and
that's right.
Since then I think you have adopted more like a mobile office approach. But so it is absolutely true. Look, the point is that when the SMBs really start to adopt technology, right? There is so much information out there on the web, and it's very hard to really figure out which is the right information, which is the wrong information, or which is, which one you can believe, which one you cannot believe. Like, for example, our latest study of our 1,000 SMBs showed that, they go to social media forums, but only 4% of them believe what is being written in social media forum. But then at the same time, they use social media forum to really advance their own business. So the point is that the SMBs do tremendous amount of research before they really start to adopt technology. They talk to their peers. They do their internal research. But many of these SMBs are also strapped for manpower, because many of them are using, the manpower is taking on more than one task, and the final decision always lies with the CEO, which is wearing many hats. So the point that we are trying to put across after having studied thousands of SMBs is the success lies in the fact that let's try this. This is my best judgment at this point in time. If I fail, that is okay. I would have learned from this, but I cannot go back and think why I failed, but let's move on and try something new. And then I will hit upon something. So the fail fast is a pretty critical capability. And we see all the time that SMBs rip and replace some of the cloud infrastructure as well, which is also one of the reasons why many of them start to think about, well, if I put everything on the cloud, can I move my data over? Do I have control of my data? And I think today there are many, many different technologies which have come up, which enable an SMB to move their data out. So the point here is that to the various channel partners is that they can let their SMB customers know that if they fail, it is okay to fail because it becomes a learning exercise. But then once they fail on a particular adoption, it is very, very quickly, it is very easy to change. In the years past, if you installed an SAP solution or you installed a client server type of a solution, if you failed, that was the end of your business. It is not the end of the business today because cloud enables those changes very quickly.
And what I would add on a lighter note, and then I'm going to thank you for your time today. I know you're very busy and appreciate you stopping by. But on a lighter note, boy, in the past, if you failed, it's probably the end of your marriage. Today, now I'm not sure my wife is still used to some of my entrepreneurial endeavors that don't go very well, but boy, she sure likes the ones that work. Let me tell you. So Anurag, I'm actually going to pick up on the. I'll send you a private email, but in a webinar, I believe next week, I'm going to review the parallel study or the Odin SMB Insight study, and they touch upon. I was writing it up today. I'll have my blog up a little bit later today, guys. But 53% of the SMBs are doing their own primary research, their research about cloud solutions and so on. And so that dovetails very nicely into your comments just a moment ago about the forum boards and social media, how much you trust it and so on. But Anurag, where can people go join your community? Where can they learn more about you and sign up and get your newsletter, sir?
Absolutely. So they can go to www.techisle.com. Just scroll down. There is a box there which says, get inbox updates. Just give your name and email address, and it will start to get our weekly insights. At the same time, for the channel partners and the SMBs, we are available. We have absolutely no charge whatsoever. If you have a question, if you're thinking about a strategy, if you're looking at, partnering with a vendor, we are there to provide our advice. There is absolutely no charge whatsoever. And we talk to thousands of SMBs, and we talk thousands of channel partners. So, you can reach us at any point in time. You can reach me personally, Anurag at techisle.com, and do sign up for a newsletter as well.
Very cool. Well, your time is executive time, sir, so appreciate you stopping by for 30 minutes. You're welcome to stay on. I'm going to go ahead and move on, folks. It's bottom of the hour. So I want to talk about, first of all, the generous underwriters for today's academic webinar. So that's Ingram Micro and Skykick. So I want to give them a shout out, and we appreciate their support. So I promise you some numbers, and so here's some partner numbers that the SMB partners who are transacting through Office 365 in cloud grew nearly 250% year over year as of Q3 and 14. And folks, some of these numbers are hard to get, so bear with me. I'm always poking around Redmond to get the most updated numbers. And on the customer side, in the next slide, I have some really juicy ones. But these, the reason I share these with you is this does a couple of things. This helps justify your business plan. You're going to get a copy of the deck with my thank you letter and some links and a link to replay the webinar. So you're going to get the deck. We'll start with that. These numbers help your business planning as an MSP, a consultant, a reseller. Think about, is this a real opportunity? Why do I want to do this? Next, 250,000 partners are enrolled in 365. 3 out of 4 Office 365 customers are being deployed by our partners. Now, I want you to remember that number because there's some counterweights out there in this segment. So next week on my my webinar, when I review the Odin SMB Insight study, again, you're going to see that customers on the left hand, they have more independence to do their research, buy direct, make decisions. But on the right hand, there's still a need for an intermediary. And if not next week, it might be the week after. I'll talk about an IDC study about the revenue trough, because that's the challenge. It's great to be an intermediary, but can you make money at it? Next up, 50,000 partners sold 365 over the last 12 months. SMB net build seats added from breadth partners grew 129%. Let me translate that. Breadth partners, that's us at SMB Nation. That's the little guy. It's not the Microsoft Gold partner, probably not the Microsoft Silver partner. It's the Action Pack partner and Joe the computer guy, for lack of a better phrase. Triple-digit growth year over year. So yes, there is a role for us. We can debate, because I do fancy myself as being something of a Seattle-based ombudsman for Office 365. So I'm happy to have an independent conversation. We can debate Microsoft's commitment to the small business partners, yada, yada, yada. But these are encouraging numbers that we're seeing triple-digit growth year over year, and then a 16x year over year growth for partners selling Office or Open per month. Rapid growth on the partner side. The train has left the station at this point, so pretty important to get on it. Ingram can have a conversation with you, by the way, on how to get on board the train. Office 365 customer numbers. So 1 billion people using Office. Office 365 is Microsoft's fastest growing commercial product ever. Now, the next 2 points are new. This is coming out of Microsoft fiscal Q3, so FY15 Q3. Their fiscal starts July 1st. So this is for the quarter that ended March 31st. Office 365 consumer subscribers increased up to over 12.4 million, up 35% sequentially quarter over quarter. But here's the real number. Commercial cloud revenue growth, revenue grew triple digits, 106%, driven by Office 365 and Azure primarily. We'll throw in Dynamics, that's fine, to an annualized run rate of $6.3 billion. Now, let me give you some perspective. A year ago, the run rate was $2.5 billion. So now the run rate is $6.3 billion, triple-digit growth. Guys, I rest my case. I don't know what to tell you. That you want to be in your career in areas that are growing and expanding. I'll leave it at that. Let's move on. Gossip. Boy, do we get gossip. I want to give a shout out to one of our speakers on the tour, Melanie Goss, who's the Microsoft princess. She actually has a little segment on her Tuesday night radio show. She does Blog Talk Radio. 250,000 downloads per edition. Those are real numbers. So she has a section on gossip that is probably far better than I could ever match. But I will tell you this. I'm out here in Seattle. In fact, as I'm speaking, I'm looking at the kayak protesters known as kayaktivists who are protesting the Shell oil rig that's being prepped to go to Alaska. So I'm literally here looking at a window, seeing that in the downtown Seattle area today. What we hear when you go to Safeco Field to the baseball game, when you go to this week's the Folklife Festival at the Seattle Center, you can't help but overhear in a company town like Seattle with Microsoft what's coming up. And we are hearing at that level. So at the baseball game and at the concerts, we are hearing that another wave of layoffs will hit in July, which is what happened last year, right when they start their new fiscal. And I get that. And it's, while unfortunate, I get it, because it's a little bit like the conversation Anurag and I had earlier in this show about business transformation. And if cloud's making small businesses, if it's making SMBs more efficient, what do you think it's doing to Microsoft, right? When's the last time they hired a software tester? Probably today, but the point is, the software testing job, that position doesn't really exist moving forward, because they use robots and analytics and algorithms to do software testing. So if cloud's making industry more efficient, it's making Microsoft more efficient. And so for them to be north of 200,000 mouths to feed, when you count blue badges, the V-dash and A-dash contingent staff, they're too big. They're too big under this revenue model. So industry growth and contractions, my other gossip. Yesterday, AppRiver, one of our sponsors on tour, AppRiver had a press release go out. It's up on our site at o365nation.com with several executive appointments. So it was good to see my friend Hammy get promoted to the VP level over marketing. Several hires, and they also reported growth, which again is kind of surprising for some companies who were, I don't believe they're a public company, but if you read our blog, you'll see that they have significant growth, being a syndicator of Office, a hoster of Office 365. So go where the growth is. Now, unfortunately, I'm hearing gossip about contractions, and so a couple of the RMM companies, and it's really up to them to reveal their names, have had layoffs in the past couple of months in the channel partner area, channel marketing areas. One RMM was flat out acquired, was that a year and a half ago? And that was not an acquisition of strength. And then I've also seen two acquisitions in the last quarter, I guess you could say. Numerically, it's been 90 days, of some email filtering companies in our space. And again, I would offer those were not acquisitions of strength that you would see up on CNBC and MarketWatch, where people are going out and buying a new Tesla. Sometimes these acquisitions take on the flavor of you get a job, and that's okay. Jobs are important, but I personally would put a couple of those acquisitions over in the contraction category. Here's what I think is happening. I think those are business models that are still tied to the on-prem server-side paradigm, and guys, they're feeling it. Versus, go look at those AppRiver results in the blog we put up this morning over at o365nation.com. Let's move on. The top 25 Office 365 influencers. I'm just going to give a couple of shout outs to some people I respect. This takes a couple screens, so get the deck, and I'll show you where you can actually get the full report. So my main lady, Naomi Moneypenny out of Texas, PhD in math, very active in the Microsoft VFI political community. More importantly, really active in SharePoint development, Office 365. She came in at number 1, and this is not a misprint, and this is not listed alphabetically. Naomi, congratulations. I'm going to give a shout out to Andrew Connell in a moment about a blog he recently did. Mary Jo Foley has not only stayed relevant in a long career, but has really stepped up with 365 coverage. The second list that comes up, Mark Anderson. Leave that up for just a second. And Chris McNulty. So shout out to Harmony. That's harmon.ie. And you can go to their blog menu and get the full report on who these people are, why they were chosen. That's the top 25 O365 influencers in a contest, if you will, held by Harmony. And you can visit harmon.ie, go to their blog page, and you'll see the results. Let's keep moving. Got a holiday coming up. O365 is a platform. So again, I wanted to tell you about Andrew Connell. So here's the deal. Back in early October 2014, I did a series of articles over at O365 Nation and talked about Office 365 as a platform. And back then, we were struggling with a couple of messaging issues. And so one was, is it just Office? Is it PowerPoint and Publisher and Excel? And so is it really just a new licensing scheme from Microsoft? Well, the answer is no. It's a much bigger ecosystem than that. And in a slide, you're going to see some ISVs that have kind of taken to Office 365 as a platform to develop gap fillers and solutions on top of. But an interesting blog that just came out last week from Andrew Connell, one of the top 25ers, has a new platform conversation for developers about Office 365 as a development platform. I'd encourage you to read it. You could certainly Google this guy and get to it, or here's the link if you go to his blog at andrewconnell.com. And he's talking more at the API level. Okay, so it's interesting how, what is this, about 8 months later, almost 9 months later, the conversation is accelerating, and we're seeing tentacles to the platform conversation, including the contribution that Anurag made earlier in the show, that Office 365 is a framework. So here's my pick this quarter of some ones to watch, the latest O365 ISVs. Guys, here's what we're seeing weekly 2 or 3 ISVs, and not so much the OEMs yet, but ISVs are launching products for Office 365. So I want to give a shout out to an old friend. I'm putting him on my Q3 list. We've talked about them for over a year, attachedapps.com, and that's basically a contact management system on top of Office 365. It does have API hooks. It touches upon some of the business workflow conversation Anurag had earlier. So take a peek at attachedapps.com. They have a reseller program. It's not a CRM system. It's not claiming to be a CRM system, but it's essentially a layer 8 in the OSI model app that you can put on top of the 365 platform to provide additional services to your customer, business services, and quite frankly, make a little bit of money. The next two are actually to some extent in the same category. So forward365.com, Giuseppe, who's based out of Miami, but the company's out of Italy, they have a management console, a management tool for multi-tenant management of Office 365. They're popular over in Europe. And then over here on these shores out of the Bay Area, my main man, Brian, who runs Nuvalex, has a similar type of management tool. Now, they're fundamentally different. I'm just saying they're in the same category, the same segment. So, do us a favor, peek at Giuseppe's product as well as Brian's product, and let me know what you think. But these are just examples of ISVs that are emerging weekly that I think are cool. Harman.ie. There's a whole story there. They're based out of Israel. They wanted to be able to say the word harmony, so they took the Irish country code that's pronounced harmony. And what they do is have a snap-in management tool over on the right to manage SharePoint, including for us help desk tickets and all that we do in SharePoint, right out of Outlook. And so it's the interface I've always wanted for SharePoint, because myself and staff, quite frankly, we're a little frustrated with the web interface to SharePoint and some of the speed hits that we take. Harmony also has a mobile app. And then Atira, also based out of Israel, is a new PSA/RMM player. So Atira.com. And that's my friend Stein, who used to be over at Microsoft on the worldwide team, and his partner. but basically they are a low-cost PSA RMM solution born in the cloud that's Office 365 friendly. And other players to keep your eyes on. Okay, so again, our underwriters today are Skykick. If you want to learn more about them, skykick.com/SMB Nation, as well as Ingram Micro. And I will be reviewing the Ingram Micro study from IDC in a future webinar about the revenue trough. So I have a few minutes left for Q&A. Just want to give a little bit of a shout out in terms of the upcoming activities we have. So we're stuffed in June. If you go down to the third bullet item, we are stuffed every Thursday. Oh my, we're going to have to do a Tuesday. I don't think there's that many Thursdays, but we launch in New York 2 weeks from today for the Win 10 tour with Honora Moby from Windows10update.com. We go to LA where he lives. We have Austin, Fort Lauderdale, and Redmond. I am hoping to be able to go to Austin because that's so fun. And then the fall conference, the Get Connected event online, early August, August 4th and 5th. And so that's mainly for a worldwide audience with our expert speakers. And then the tour continues with Charlotte and Boston. So folks, let me bring up my console and use the chat feature to ask your questions if you have any. Apologies for not giving a proper shout out in terms of how to ask questions. I have a few minutes left. If you want to marshal your questions, that's great. And if you want to take a look at these different sites for all the activities we have. This has been my quarterly briefing on Office 365. As an independent analyst, your ombudsman for Office 365 out here in Seattle. So I'm keeping an eye on them for you folks. I'm going to do sort of like a charity auction. I'm going to go once on questions. I'm going twice on questions. And I'm going 3 times on questions. Let's see if we get any to pop up. No worries. Folks in the U.S., enjoy the first major holiday of the year, in my opinion, at least the summer, Memorial Day. Have a great weekend. I know you probably have half a foot out the door today, 2 feet out the door tomorrow, Friday. Don't blame me a bit. Thank you so much for joining us today for the quarterly briefing, and we'll be in touch. Have a good one, folks. Bye-bye.